Hey you guys, it's Unique New Tales TV, and I'm back. So this video I'll be talking about which country has been the best country to me that I've lived in. So I've lived in China, Taiwan, and now South Korea. Um, I did live in Ecuador, but that was just for a summer, so I won't really count it. Where I was where I had my first teaching English experience, and I did live in Mexico for quite some time, but I was just teaching online, so I won't count that either. But actually, working in a school in a foreign country, it will be those three countries, and for like a year or more. South Korea has now been the or more exception, whereas in China and Taiwan, I did a year in each place. For me, I would still say Taiwan is number one just because of the quality of life, the weather. It's an island, it's tropical, it doesn't get um too cold, and the cold lasts for a little bit of time. Um Here it gets super cold. Like when the winter hit last winter and it was like 2 degrees and I had to go to the store, I thought I was gonna die. Like, oh my gosh, it was not fun at all. I don't care for the cold. So it snows, it's ice. Now it does melt, like it'll snow and then 3 hours later it's gone, or it'll snow overnight and then the next day, midday, it has melted. And it kind of does that repeated pattern where it'll snow and you'll like see snow. Like someone in my building that I used to live in, but my school made a whole big snowman in like the courtyard area and things. So you can make snow angels. Like it's some snow out there. It's not like a little sleet or a light dusting, but then it'll be gone in a day. So but it's cold. It's very cold and I don't like the cold. So the weather in Taiwan was a lot better. I like the food better in Taiwan. I feel like here in Korea, if you like beef and pork, you would love it. When it comes to just like Korean food, like in Taiwan, I really grew a fondness for like dumplings and lunch boxes and different kinds of tofu. I discovered I like tofu there. But just different kinds of foods that were not American. When I was in Taiwan, I feel like I experimented the most outside of my comfort zone where it came to food, and those experiments were positive experiences. Versus here in South Korea, they put like beef and pork in just about everything. They love them some beef and some pork. So it's hard to find just a vegetable option, or just a chicken option or a fish option if that's not something you're into, if you're not into beef and pork. Like they Korean barbecue is a big thing. And even though I heard there's some with chicken or with seafood, I have not found or been to one. Most of that's something, not to say you can't find it, but that's a rare thing. It's something you have to go out and like seek. When you see barbecues, they all are beef and pork based, a majority of them. So, or like dumplings, I haven't been able to find any that's just vegetable or any that's just seafood or chicken or anything like that. It might say vegetable or like kimchi because they love them some kimchi here. Oh my goodness, and it stinks, but that's a whole nother thing. But it'll still have pork in it. So you have to ask them like, "Oh, this is vegetable. Does this have pork?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." And you be like, "Okay." So, or the seafood, but it still has pork in it. So they really like that. So it's hard to find. Like you might even get like some kind of vegetable rice, and then you see little pieces of spam. They love spam. That's like a thing for them. Or some kind of meat that's not chicken in it. So yeah, I would say I like the food in Taiwan better. I feel like the people were a lot more friendlier. And I don't mind people not being quote unquote friendly, but like in here, they just kind of mind their own business, which is fine too. They just kind of go on about their day, do their thing or whatever. Where in Taiwan, people would sometimes go out of the way to talk to you, and not in a weird way, like in China, where they're talking to you, but it's like strange and strange questions, like How do you wash your hair? Where are you from? Oh yeah, well, where are your parents from? Where are your grandparents from? You know, just trying to find an Africa in there somewhere, or just being weird. Where Taiwan, it felt more like just a normal conversation, like just normal, friendly people, you know. Whereas here, no one really tries to have a conversation with you, which is fine for me. But that is something that I noticed the differences in just a culture. But I hear that once you get into it with a Korean, like build that friendship or that bond, they will do anything for you. This is what I've heard. Of course, like I said, I had not experienced that. And that's not to say I don't go out of my way to speak to them either. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with them, you know, staying to themselves and going about their business or whatever. Um, and in Taiwan, it was cheaper. Seoul is like living in Manhattan, okay? It is not cheap. It is very expensive to go grocery shopping here, to do things here. Like my coworker, they went to get their nails done, and it's like 50, 60,000 just for gel for your regular nails. So not even getting any added nail on there, just with their regular nail. And if you know 50, 60,000, that's like 45, 50 US dollars, okay? I mean, it's outrageous. That's just an example. You go grocery shopping, you might get six things, and then it comes to 100, and so that's like $80 in USD, and you're like, what did I buy? I bought like a pack of chicken, a pack of salmon, it's vegetables. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? So it's expensive here. It's expensive. So that's another thing that I liked about Taiwan. China was cheap too, and Taiwan was a little more expensive than China, but I felt like the quality was better. I didn't have to like raise my eyebrow all the time. Like in China, I'm constantly raising my eyebrow. Like, is this real? From the products you buy to the food you buy, everything is like suspicious in China. Whereas in Taiwan, I felt comfortable, like, oh, okay, yeah, this is fine. And it was cheap as well. So here, I don't have to raise my eyebrow at all either, but everything is very, very expensive. Um, I have seen more foreigners here in Korea. Again, I'm in Seoul, I'm in the capital, so there is that. So of course there's just gonna be more foreigners in general. But especially people of color, I've seen more here than any of those two countries. So I will get South Korea that. But South Korea does have the base, the army base, US Army base. So again, I think that has to do with them not staring and all that other stuff, because they're used to seeing people who look differently from them since like World War II. So you know what I mean? Like, so they've been desensitized to it. And so yeah, and then you see just more people of color in general when you're just walking about. And they're not necessarily African Americans, but just all kinds. Um, and what else? So yeah, that's like the Taiwan versus South Korea and a little bit of China in there, but Taiwan is still like my jam. I felt like I did a lot more, which could be, I will say, this is COVID. I'm here in South Korea during COVID time. Like, I came like at the hype in summer of 2020 of COVID, and COVID is still going on, and now the Delta variant is here. So things are not getting any better. So that also could affect my opinion right now, because, well, not some, you know, not all the things, but like in Taiwan, I went on a lot of tours. I did a lot more. I saw a lot of the country. I was really out there in those Taiwan streets with Taiwan Getaways. Shout out to Sherry from Taiwan Getaways. I really enjoyed their trips that they hosted. Whereas here, you might plan to go on a trip, you might pay for it, and then they're like, oh, because of COVID, we have to give everybody their money back. Or, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're gonna be in a bus for 13 hours, you know, riding to me. Be like, what, 13 hours? You know? So, I don't know. It's like it's some differences, and again, it could just be because of COVID where that is concerned. Even just being out there more with the things like I when in Taiwan I did like archery and I just tried a lot more different activities versus here I haven't really done anything. I've gone predominantly to restaurants with like coworkers and friends and things like that, but I haven't really done a lot. Now I have gone on like a few tours. I've done a few things, but nowhere near as much as I would have if it wasn't for COVID, or as much as I did when I was in Taiwan. So, it's also a big difference. So I felt like I was more connected to Taiwan. I saw a lot more. I really learned about like more about just Taiwan as a country in general when I was there. So that might also affect my reasoning behind why Taiwan is still my number one. As far as like work life culture, in Taiwan, it felt a lot less. I felt a lot less pressure. Let's just say that, like as well as in China, okay? Because in China they just throw you in the classroom and they're like, just make us speak English. Like I didn't have to make a lesson plan in advance. I didn't have to just like, oh, just make us speak English, conversate. It's just kind of like whatever. So I was really left to my own devices in China. So I love that about China. I love my job in China. So China still takes the cake as the best job just because I had so much autonomy to just do whatever I wanted to do. Versus in Taiwan, they were a lot more like, oh yeah, we need your lesson plan in advance. We need to know what you're talking about. We need to have meetings. We need to do this. We need to do that. So I kind of hated my job in Taiwan almost like a little bit. Because like they would have like, oh, we're having an English department meeting and then they speak in Korean the whole time. It's dumb. So these are all English teachers, and they say, "Oh well, because our English." But I'm like, you're teaching your kids English every day. So why are you? Why are you forcing me as well as my coworker, the other foreign teacher, to sit in this meeting for an hour or however long for us not to know anything you're saying? Like I could be doing something else with my time, So it was just like stuff like that, just that annoyed me about Taiwan, and that was I thought was silly. That was more of the job. Outside of the job, Taiwan was great. So Taiwan does not win for the job part, but overall it wins. And because the time I spent at the job, I feel like I did a lot when I wasn't at work. You know what I mean? So in China, I didn't do a lot when I wasn't at work. Not as much as I did in Taiwan anyway. But I spent most of my day at work. So it was okay. Like it worked out because when I was at work, I was fine and I was there for 8 hours or, well, no, not 8 hours. Again, autonomy. If I didn't have a class or whatever, I can go home. If I was on a class at 11, like on Wednesdays, I can go home. So, and be done for the day. So that was pretty cool. Well, in South Korea, I am now a school counselor here, and I fall under the leadership admin role. So, like, my office is right next to like the vice principal's office, who's next to the principal's office, and then the other counselor and other vice principal's office, and we're like, like a school in America, and it's an American school. It's a Common Core school. And so I'm working with all American people. I'm one of like five black people out of like 140, 160 or something like that staff in a K through 12 school. And I am, this last year I was in a new position, trying something different, something I hadn't experienced before besides when I did my internship. And so it just feels a lot more serious and a lot more real than when I was in China and when I was in Taiwan of just being an ESL English teacher. It wasn't a lot of pressure. Like when I was in Taiwan, I was doing first, second, and third grade. I just went through the whole ABC throughout the year. Like, all right, we're doing A this week, B this week, C this week, literally. And then we did the sounds. We had some words that matched the sound, and then we made a sentence out of those words. Like, a dummy. Like anyone can do it. Like if you are, an English speaker, you can do it. It doesn't take a rocket science, rocket scientist. Versus in Korea, like I feel like it's not that at my job. Like they expect you to know what you're doing. These are people who have been teaching for a million years and have been at the school for a long time, and they have PhDs, and they have, you know what I mean? They know if you're like bullshitting. So you can't just be making up stuff and doing whatever as you go along, or just go off of your own prior knowledge, like, oh, I know the ABCs, I know the sounds, it's easy. You need to know like what you are doing. So that makes my job more strenuous, more serious. I have to go to like staff meetings every Tuesday, like in America, and stay after work an extra hour, or make the class list for next year and stay after work to do all kind of things. You know what I mean? Even now, they have like orientation for like 2 weeks. So I'm in quarantine, so I've been on Zoom. And it's like all day of just like stuff and just very serious. Okay, like this is not a game. And I mean, I understand that the parents are paying 25 to 30,000 USD a year to send the kids to the school that I work at, and of course they're paying for quality. So when I was in China and I was in Taiwan, I was working in a public school. So, but anyway, I see that this video has gotten to 16 minutes. I don't know what happened. I thought it was going to be short. This is Unique TV. Like, subscribe, share. If you have any questions, hit me up. Let me know. Um, and that way I can make more content for you guys. If you have questions, I'll make videos answering them. All right.